History is filled with strange and shocking moments. Events that make you stop and question everything you thought you knew about the past. But honestly, few are as bizarre, as utterly grotesque, as the Cadaver Synod of 897 AD. Imagine this for a moment. A courtroom, a pope on trial, nothing too unusual there perhaps, but this pope was not alive. He had been dead for 9 months. His decaying body was dug up, dressed in papal robes, propped up on a throne to face his accusers. This wasn't a scene from a horror film, it was a real event, a formal church trial held in the heart of Rome. The Cadaver Synod, or Synodus Horrenda, remains one of the most macabre episodes in the entire history of the papacy. The accused was Pope Formosus. He had died in 896 AD after a controversial papacy. The man who orchestrated this grim spectacle was his successor, Pope Stephen VI. The charges against the corpse were serious ecclesiastical crimes. So why did Pope Stephen VI go to such extreme and ghoulish lengths? The answer lies in the tangled web of politics that ensnared Rome at the end of the 9th century. The Holy Roman Empire was fractured, with 2 main factions fighting for control of Italy, and, by extension, the papacy. Pope Formosus had aligned himself with Arnulf of Carinthia, a Germanic contender for the imperial crown. In 896, Formosus crowned Arnulf as Holy Roman Emperor in Rome, a move that infuriated the powerful Italian nobles from the House of Spoleto, who had their own candidate for the throne. Pope Stephen VI was a member of this Spoletan faction. His papacy was essentially a puppet regime installed by the enemies of Formosus. For Stephen VI and his Spoletan backers, the trial was an act of political vengeance. They needed to delegitimize everything Formosus had done. By convicting him of ecclesiastical crimes, they could nullify all his acts, including the appointments of bishops, and most importantly, the coronation of their enemy, Arnulf. It was a ruthless power play. Formosus was seen as a traitor to the Roman aristocracy. The trial itself was a truly horrifying spectacle. The decaying body of Pope Formosus, 9 months in its grave, was propped up on a throne in the Synod Hall. Dressed in full papal regalia, the corpse was a silent, grim defendant. Pope Stephen VI presided, screaming his accusations at the lifeless face of his predecessor. The charges were read aloud. A terrified young deacon, hidden behind the throne, was forced to answer for the dead man. The hall reeked of fear and revulsion. Formosus was found guilty on all counts. The judgment was swift and brutal. All of Formosus's acts were declared null and void. 3 fingers of his right hand, the fingers used to bless, were hacked off. Formosus's body was stripped of its remaining dignities. It was handed to the mob, dragged through Rome's streets, and finally cast into the Tiber River. Stephen's political victory was short-lived. He was imprisoned, and within months, was strangled to death in his cell. The backlash from the church and the public was immediate and severe. The Cadaver Synod was seen not as an act of justice, but as a monstrous sacrilege that stained the papacy itself. The popes who immediately followed Stephen VI began the process of undoing the damage. Pope Theodore II, whose reign lasted only 20 days in 897, formally annulled the proceedings of the Cadaver Synod. He recovered Formosus's body from the Tiber. He had it reburied with full honors in St. Peter's Basilica. His successor, Pope John IX, went even further. He convened his own synod that officially condemned Stephen's trial. He ordered the trial's records burned. He formally prohibited any future trials of the dead. This bizarre episode, as shocking as it was, did lead to some important changes in church law. The prohibition against trying people after their death became a firm tenet of canon law. The Cadaver Synod served as a wake-up call. It was a low point that forced future reformers to argue for a stronger, more independent papacy. Today, the modern Catholic Church views the Cadaver Synod with profound embarrassment. It is a cautionary tale of what happens when political ambition and personal hatred completely overwhelm spiritual duty. The sheer strangeness of the Cadaver Synod has ensured its place in cultural memory. It continues to serve as a powerful symbol of the abuse of power.